Okay, in all honesty, I wanted to re-record this one, so that's what I'm doing. But I'll still tell the story from last night, which was scary. And I went outside to take the dog out before I went to bed, and wanted her to go to the bathroom. Hey, go over there, go empty. And I hear this like, it sounded like almost someone like dragging a stick across concrete, really, really, really fast, like a little concrete patio, and went back and forth with like one stroke. And then I hear it again, and I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure I know what that is. And I see the dog freeze, and I'm like, oh, I really know what that is. And I've been waiting for this moment because she hasn't seen a snake, and I've been excited to see what happens when she sees one, because she's been really fun to watch with engaging with new animals, and she did not like this one. She just kind of froze, stared at it, which makes sense, right? Because it was like really dark out. She couldn't see it, but then this little, legless rope monster can see us perfectly. So I shine a light on the snake, and that really melted her little doggy brain. And we just gave him. He was a little gopher snake, and I like having them around because they eat the rodents. Sometimes you stumble on them out in the yard, and they're very big. This is just like a little normal guy. So gave him a little toss over the fence. Had to like peel the dog away, frozen in fear back inside. But been waiting for that to happen, so that was exciting. Excited to see if he went across the driveway today, if we can find him in the daylight. Last summer we only had one dog, and we found a really big one, and he was like throwing down the gauntlet, kicking up, barking at him, walking up to him, holding his own. Yeah, so cool day. There was a podcast I did recently with the CrossFit team and Denise Thomas, which was really wonderful because I've known Denise for a very long time. We kind of came up in CrossFit together and worked together, seminars in different gyms, trained together, known each other a long time, and she's probably seen a lot of my worst, seen some of my best. But great working history with Denise. So, and I like what she's doing with that podcast. So it was really nice to chat with her. I was grateful I had the opportunity. And since I'm a habitual comment reader, I'll be just seeing what people say about that, good, bad, or ugly. Can't help myself. So I'll throw that in the show notes if you haven't listened. But had a couple. And then getting ready to go out to the CrossFit Games this week, which is really exciting because I have not done that in a while. Was kind of on the fence about going, and then got an opportunity to go do some things out there with the IT teams, which is very different. One of my favorite things about the games, and I think I've said this maybe earlier, is I've had the opportunity to see the games from a lot of different viewpoints, whether it's competing. I've never judged, but competing, demo team, working on the partnership side, working on retail side-ish, working on the commentating side, doing some color commentary. So it's cool to have had all of those perspectives. So I'm excited to go back out this time, have a new perspective. And also I know one of the little vocal minority or majority criticisms has been that they're holding it this year in Albany, which I think to a lot of people doesn't feel like a real destination city. I've never had a terrible time in Albany. It actually has a nice piece of nostalgia for me because the MVP arena where they're holding the games is in 2018. They held a regionals there, and that's when I got to watch Cassandra compete at the regionals and then qualified and go on to the games. And that was like one of my favorite CrossFit memories, seeing her make to the games on a team. One of my most stressful years of watching a competitive season. Watching athletes you care about compete, I think, is harder than being an athlete competing. I felt like that was emotionally more stressful, but very rewarding. So that's like a nice little piece of nostalgia to get to enjoy. But one of the things I thought like the silver lining for me was a lot of our past venues were like really sexy venues, or like the destinations were really exciting. And I think what is cool about this is, containing the games to the MVP arena, is it gives us an opportunity to really just focus on the athletes doing the events. And not that that isn't always a primary focus, it is, but I think because just the way the events are programmed from what I know about them and how they've organized them throughout the weekend, I really feel like it will, there's other stuff to do there still. They're going to have a lot going on, but I think it's going to make it really just a nice stage because you're not going to be thinking about like, oh, I got to go, Saratoga's up the road, which is really popular. And then, Hudson Valley, New York is pretty. But anyway, I don't think a lot of people are going there and being like, oh, I can't wait to go on my vacation, vacation around Albany. At least that's what the internet seems to tell me. So I'm hoping it like just basically turns the events and the athletes and the race they have into like a gravity well of attention. So excited for that, to get back out there. And then recently I saw on an Instagram account, friend of mine, we keep up on the content she makes. I really appreciate Athena Perez, and she runs Scaled Nation CrossFit, but also been just creating a ton of content about fitness related to Scaled Nation, just fitness in general. And I encourage you to go check it out. But she's always like posting her dialogue with people in DMs, not always, but often in her story. And I think one of the ones was she reposted and I wish I caught all the details, but I was kind of just Instagram flipping until I stumbled on the quote that she shared. I think it was a Masters athlete going to the Masters competition looking for support, and she reposted it. And I think somebody had responded to her in the DMs of like, why would you support, this average rando? And into that, Athena responded, people chasing something bold, regardless of the odds. There's nothing average about that. Man, I thought that was such a cool quote. I really loved it. I read it a bunch of times. I'll read it one more time. People chasing something bold, regardless of the odds. There's nothing average about that. And the reason this struck me, and I've been thinking about it a lot lately. I thought about it today. I was talking to a friend, and he's been doing a lot with his diet and nutrition, and it's cool to see him, kind of square it away and dial it in, because over the past, X amount of weeks, he's been doing this, regardless of like the physical transformation. Like, he seems more energetic, youthful, alert, that kind of stuff. And it's cool because it makes him look younger. It's kind of crazy to see. And he seems happy with it. And even listening to him talk about it, like, it hasn't been this, like, he hasn't put like a stranglehold on himself to do it. And I think he's been relatively patient with it. But, he also is talking about it in a way where it's like, it seems sustainable, and he's interested in continuing to do it because of how it makes him feel. Maybe even more so than how it makes him look. But today, he's kind of finishing this out he's doing a 5-day fast. And, when we hear things like this, which are a little bit extraordinary or out there or really lofty goals, I think we kind of have like two default reactions. We either have like this enormous false praise or adulation we give. Oh my God, that's amazing. 5 days. That is incredible. Like, there's no, like, what you are doing, like, so many people couldn't do that, which all that is probably true. But I think we fall into that pitfall. Or the other side of this is because we don't think we could do it, or it's just something we've never thought about attaining, or maybe it's not important to us, we kind of poo-poo it. We say like, 5 days. What are you, an idiot? Who would go 5 days without eating? And we can all think of examples in our life when somebody has told us something, a lofty goal or something extraordinary, and we're like, what are you, a moron? And so when he told me this, I was like, man, that's really cool, 5 days. And I did ask him, though. I was like, why did you pick 5 days? And I said, have you ever done a fast before? He's like, yeah, I've done a 1 and a 2 days. So 5 just seemed like a good goal. And I was like, yeah, awesome. So anyway, that made me think of this quote. People chasing something bold. I think a 5-day fast is bold to see how it makes your body feel, if you feel better from it, regardless of the odds. There's nothing average about that. The other, place I thought about this was, how we approach doing things or chasing goals for ourselves. And again, like that same feedback I might give to that friend of mine who tells me he's doing a 5-day fast or whatever the goal is. The same, pitfalls I might fall into, like being insincerely enthusiastic or applauding it or praising it, or just outright crapping on it. I think the middle road is like investigating the impetus behind it because of our curiosity. I think we also need to talk to ourselves that way. Cassandra always tells me that like our subconscious doesn't understand sarcasm, and I certainly, for a lot of reasons, live my life in sarcasm. I love it, And, there are definitely times when I overuse it toward myself, and it probably hinders progress, effort, interest, motivation more than it helps it or helps anything. But when I thought about this, and the reason this quote really also stuck out to me is because I feel really fortunate with the success I've had chasing things that when I started at the time were long odds, whether that's competing in CrossFit Games, the coaching journey that I've had after deciding, not to pursue the thing I had been going to school for years and just go in this total different direction. And at the time when I started all those things out, I was at least average compared to other people doing those things, if not worse than average. And that's kind of where we all start out. I heard this quote once, and I didn't know if it was attributed in CrossFit, but beginners look like beginners because they're beginners. And I've always really liked this quote because it builds in a little bit of grace and understanding, but it doesn't take away the responsibility of progress if you want to go in that direction. So I've always really liked that. Beginners look like beginners because they're beginners, but they have somewhere they're trying to go. So we're going to accept that they're a beginner right now, and we're going to try and get them past that. I think with this quote, people chasing something bold regardless of the odds, there's nothing average about that. When you often start chasing something bold, especially if the odds of getting there are pretty low, you probably don't really look cool or fantastic doing it. And you sure as shit do not feel cool or look fantastic doing it. Like one of the things that this is no surprise to anybody who's listening to this podcast is like, I absolutely love training my dogs. I am by no means great at it. I read about it plenty. I watch a lot of videos on it. I talk to friends about it. I want to, achieve some sort of certification in this. I'm at the park training my dog or dogs. I'm tangled in the leash. I'm messing things up. The other day we were doing a drill and I had a little treat bag. I look like a total nerd. I had a little treat bag and I'm kind of like backing up, recalling them to me. And all the treats are in the bag's open. All the treats are bobbling out of the bag. And I look down to give the dog a treat as, to kind of mark that they did it right. And I don't have any treats. So not only do I feel average, I feel whatever is less than average. And I know it's really long odds that I become an effective or good dog trainer, especially because I want to build that into the life I already have, at least for now. Maybe it's something that I could do professionally or only in the future, but I just know that I absolutely freaking love it. And, that's something that I want to bring into my life. And there are so many moments that it's discouraging because you have to couple the fact that you got to start somewhere and the odds are long and you feel and look like an idiot, but that's part of it. And I do think that's what's also exciting about it. And maybe what I can appreciate about it more is like, even though it's hard and the odds are long and I'm starting somewhere, like I am making some progress, and that is appreciable. That is valuable. And I think that's, when you think about any big next step in life, I was talking to another friend and we were just kind of talking about careers and, feeling like we're, if you're challenging your job and maybe because when you're challenged or there's some uncertainty in your job, you slack off a bit from it, or you just pull off the throttle a little bit because you don't know what's next. You're not sure what to do. You've had a lot of challenges so far, but I imagine in the back of your mind, there's always some like next big goal that seems very far away. And, we've talked a lot about like, okay, well, how do you get there? Eat the elephant one bite at a time, take that next best step. But also it's like, maybe just accept and appreciate the fact that, it's the fact that you have this lofty goal and you're willing to fight against the odds, and that's exciting to you. It's totally okay if you start off average or below average, or there's somewhere you want to get. And that was a nice reminder for me because lately, and then maybe this is what a midlife crisis is. Lately, I've been looking at like all that I feel like I've accomplished up until now, which I'm grateful for and I'm proud of. But I can't, especially over the last like probably 4 years or so, 5 years, I've definitely had this feeling of like, what do I do next? What am I going to do next? How do I keep doing more? Or what is the next big thing? And that can be like is this it? That can be sort of a disconcerting feeling. But I think part of it is like, finding the thing you really love and realizing like, well, it's okay that I'm average at it. I've been average at other things before. Just go start it. Give it a shot. And maybe it doesn't pan out. But again, kind of like this podcast, it does not get, record breaking listens or downloads or views. But I'll tell you this, like in getting back into it and staying with it and seeing that it's 120 episodes and looking back on some of the episodes and some of the views some of the episodes I've gotten, man, I appreciate it so much. And for me, getting to this point, I won't say it was long odds, but I will say, when I started, it really felt like an average endeavor, again, below average. But at this point, and the conversations that it's created and allowed me to have with other people, and the messages people have sent with me about it, and how it's made me feel and reflect on my own life, I think the odds of getting to those steps felt like really far off in the beginning. And, I look at it now, and for me, this doesn't feel like an average endeavor. And I think that's really cool. Maybe that's me grading my own papers a little bit, which is cheating. But again, I think the big takeaway of that quote and looking back on it and how we, treat ourselves or talk to ourselves when we start doing something new is, you might have this really big lofty goal, but then you look at yourself in comparison to the goal and you're like, man, I suck. I'm below average. My shot of getting there is really, 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 really slim. But there's so much value in trying anyway. And there's a lot of value in chasing something big. So, and we got to have the courage to do that multiple times in our life, because life is life and things are uncertain and you do fail a lot. And so you got to keep hacking away. So if you feel average chasing a lofty goal, do it anyway. See what happens, because there's nothing average about taking that journey or that effort. So that was it. Much better re-recording. Happy with that. So anyway, longer podcast than I wanted, but appreciate you, and talk to you soon. Maybe next time from Albany at the CrossFit Games. More tomorrow.